know that celebrating those who do not identify as any kind of gender or are transgender or live any alternative lifestyles, celebrating those choices in the month of June and having the rainbow be the main symbol of these types of lifestyles is actually an ancient Mesopotamia way of worshiping the god of Ishtar? Yes, what we do in our modern world is not creative or innovative in any way, but only a mirror of what was done at the beginning of the first civilization that existed after the flood. According to ancient history and tablets found by archaeologists who have studied the ancient Mesopotamia world, have discovered that individuals who went against the traditional gender binary were heavily involved in the cult of Inanna, also known as the goddess of Ishtar. During Sumerian times, a set of priests known as the Gala worked in Inanna's temples where they performed songs and lamentations. Men who became Gala would adopt female names, and their songs were composed in the speech of female characters. In addition, Sumerian proverbs suggest that the Gala had a reputation for engaging in homosexual acts with other men in the temple as worship to the goddess. Further, ancient documents show that male servants of Ishtar dressed in female clothing and performed war dances in Ishtar's temples. These war dances included homosexual acts, bloodletting, and it's even debated if castration was involved. A woman named Gwendolyn Liek, an anthropologist known for her writings on Mesopotamia, has compared these individuals to the contemporary Indian Hijra. Hijra is an Indian term to describe the behavior and people of transgender and transvestite individuals. Further, it is said in another ancient hymn, Ishtar is described as transforming men into women and women into men. This is shown by the main way the goddess was worshipped, which was by the people putting on parades. In an ancient proverb, it says this about the parades, quote, "The people of Sumer parade before you. The women adorned their right side with men's clothing. The people of Sumer parade before you. The men adorn their left side with women's clothing," end quote. There are more proverbs describing behavior like this. Bottom line is these parades consisted on gender blurring, all in worship of the goddess. While Ishtar was celebrated all the time, the goddess's main month of celebration ended up being in the month of June, when according to Roman texts is the month her lover died, who was called Tammuz, and the goddess went into great mourning. So while this wasn't a Mesopotamian trend, it was a Roman one. Thus, June became the month of the goddess. Further, Ishtar has been credited as the creator of the rainbow. There are many ways she's connected with the rainbow, but two of them is a strange description of the goddess contained in an ancient Babylonian hymn saying, quote, "Her eyes are multicolored and iridescent," end quote. The eyes of multicolors are obviously a rainbow, and the word iridescent comes from the Latin word iris, which means rainbow, and Iris is another name of a Roman goddess of the rainbow later on in history. In addition, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, Ishtar is mentioned saying, quote, "Ishtar also came. She lifted up her necklace with the jewels of heaven," end quote. According to these ancient texts, jewels of heaven was considered a rainbow. Thus, Ishtar becomes the goddess of the rainbow who lifts the rainbow up into the sky. So would it be possible that just by reviewing these little-known facts in history gives us a taste of what the ancient world was like before God flooded the earth? We have proof of this because the same hybrids that were washed away in the flood, their spirits remained on the earth after the flood. Their bodies were taken away, but their spirits remained. We have to take into consideration that hybrids are an ungodly mixing of God's creation. They mixed genders, they were mixing animals and humans, they were mixing across races of animals that shouldn't be mixed together, etc. All of this is explained in the Bible and other ancient biblical texts like the book of Enoch, Jasher, and the book of Jubilees, and so on and so forth. If this was the kind of behavior, sin, and perversion before, the spirits would then kick up the same behavior in the ancient Mesopotamian and Babylonian world during the first world kingdom and civilization of mankind after the flood. It is a historical fact that these behaviors, parades, and cults to these gods and goddesses decreased once the apostles, like Paul, were spreading the message of the gospel and the power of God throughout these regions. It would make sense then that if we are seeing these spirits, behaviors, and cults kicked back up again, would be a sign of the de-Christianization of our world and country and the re-paganization of our world and our country. If you take God out, there is no neutral ground that can remain. It will be filled with something, and since these evil spirits still roam the earth, it will be filled with these spirits, and they will restart their old ancient ways, behaviors, gender blurring, parades, and rebellion, the same things that brought great judgment into our world.